Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Thursday music discussion video. And we always say like, hey, if you have an artist you want us to check out or anything along those lines, like let us know. And this particular artist you were put up on by a coworker.
That's correct.
Right. And this is an artist that neither of us had ever heard of. And I'm like fully embarrassed that I had never heard of this artist before. Like for so many reasons. I'm shocked that I've never, in no way had ever heard of this artist, and now I'm all excited. So this video is like kind of for me as well, because this is like, and I totally agree with these picks, by the way. Like these are absolutely songs that would tell you who this is and what they're about. So there's a brilliant rap artist named Aesop Rock, who embarrassingly for me has been around for like 15 years or longer.
Yeah,
maybe.
he put his first like independent thing out. He put out on his own in like 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how did you find out about him?
A coworker of mine. Yeah, we've got a music discussion group at work, and he brought this artist to the table. One of the songs is actually on this list, and me also being fairly new to the the rap hip hop appreciation game, I heard this.
Yeah, it's like this came along at the right time for you.
Absolutely, I heard this, and I was like, this is good. This is very good. And then I brought it to you, and you're like, this is good, and I'm like,
it was we had had a couple cocktails. And when you played a song for me, like just by the way I was getting down to it, I could tell you were like, oh, he likes it.
Oh, yeah. So I went back to that coworker and I had him say, okay, if 5 songs to start with, what would you pick? So
Right.
yeah.
So as we always do, Lauren's going to run through the songs, tell you what album they're off of, what year they came from, and a little bit about the songs. And then for this video, I'm mostly going to be like nodding or or interjecting very little. But I think these 5 songs are awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I do too.
So if you're like me, you never heard of Aesop Rock before, which again, I'm embarrassed to admit, but if I can admit it, so can you. Here's the 5 songs Lauren would tell you to check out.
Yeah. So the first one is from The Impossible Kid in 2016, and it's a song called Kirby. And this is probably my personal, I don't know.
It would be.
This is one of my favorites of this bunch. It's about a cat. But I'll tell you what, like the thing with Aesop Rock is that studies have been done. Some people like musicologists like really digging into this. Apparently Aesop Rock has like the largest vocabulary in hip hop.
Yeah.
Like right
now. That
now.
doesn't surprise me at all. Because one of the first things that I liked was the wordplay is
it's intense.
Yeah.
It's absolutely intense. It's something like in the first like 3,500 lines of music, there are something almost like 8,000 unique words, which is more than Shakespeare.
And on a side note, like when I was a kid, and this is part of why I'm ashamed that I didn't know anything about this. When I was a kid, that was one of the things that stood out to me when I first heard rap, like Grandmaster Flash or Run DMC. The very first rap that I ever heard, I'm not saying that's where rap started. I'm saying that's the first rap I ever heard. A lot of what I listened to as a little kid was all very basic rock and country, right? So it was all like my wife left me, or like, oh baby come back, that's it.
Yeah.
And then when I heard The Message by Grandmaster Flash and Raising Hell by Run DMC, the whole album, I was like, oh, there's like so much more going on lyrically than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And there were even words like, and this is back when you had to run and look it up in the dictionary, there were words like in the Run DMCs that I had to be like, is that a word? And then like go look it up.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. So that's going to be one of the themes throughout all this too. Like, by the way, Kirby is a song about a cat and how this cat is something just magical for just one person having it. Like, you got it. There's a line where it's like he got the cat from a woman who just had a bunch of kittens in a box, and it's like, standing there with the future in a cardboard box, like future superheroes in a cardboard box. And I'm like, that's a pile of kittens.
Yeah. That's rad. So we go from 2016 to 2023, and as far as I can tell, this is his most recent record. I know it's from 2023, but these kids these days putting out all the all these songs but as far as I can tell, this is his latest album, which is the album is called Integrated Tech Solutions, and the song is
Mindful Solutionism. Now that should tell you that there's dense words in this song. Okay. But this was the track that my coworker brought.
Okay,
this is the first one I heard.
Off the top of my head, I think this is the first track.
This was it too.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know I don't know the best way to put this, but there was something about this that just made me go, this is old school. This is good. Like, because I think for me, because I'm younger than you, is that the rap that was happening when I was impressionable was like, oh no, I don't care for this. So I had no reason to want to go back. But this nods to like all that stuff that's like, it's clever. It's real hooky.
Well, it's like I told you, like, back in my day when we had rap feuds when I was a kid, but it was like Kool Mo D and LL Cool J, like, literally just talking about like who was better at rapping or who was cooler, and this is, as soon as I heard this, I was like, this is what it, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for, like, from the first time I heard PE or NWA, I was like, wow, I like, as a white kid growing up in Chicago in Clarkston, I had a friend of mine from Chicago who was huge in NWA, which is why I got that stuck in my head. But anyways, as a white kid growing up in Clarkston, like, I didn't know what was going on in places like LA. And so I do think there's a place for all of that. Like, I'm not saying that shouldn't have come along. But this instantly harkened back to like what I loved about rap when I heard it in the first place.
Yeah, because I think it absolutely can be a very fun genre, and this is fun, right?
So the next one you have goes back to the same album as Kirby, The Impossible Kid from 2016. What's the name of the song?
Mystery Fish. Now, this one, of all of the ones in this 5 songs to start with starter pack, is the most technical and kind of the heaviest as far as like theming goes, I guess. But I will say there's a lot of fun, like, ambient trumpets in the horns in the background of this. And I just really dig the vibe of this song, even though I think the reason this starter pack really resonates with me is because, I'm a cultivator and appreciator of the silly and the goofy and the irreverent, and there is so much of that in Aesop Rock's body of work. But this track shows that, like, he was doing more heavier stuff earlier on in his career, and so this is still that.
Another thing that I like, what you were just talking about, is there's a certain era of rap where I pretty much fell off. Me personally, it would have been about between like 2003 to like 2015 or so. There was just nothing going on that I liked, and it was because so many things became so reliant on sampling. Because I do believe there's an art to sampling, and that's why in something like this, like, it relies on its own sound. Like, it's not just like, oh, hey, you remember that Steve Miller song? Well, here's some lyrics over it. You know what I mean? And I really like that. Now, the last two that you have on the list are both, from what I can tell, they're not from albums. They're just from singles. So if you're a vinyl collector, I believe the other 2 albums we've talked about are readily available on vinyl. But these 2 you're just going to have to stream, but I think they're both worth it. One of them is from 2016.
Yes. It's called My Belly. This is delightful. It's about an otter. And it's from the perspective of the otter, just kind of going about his day. And the question is sort of like, all right, otter, after you go catch all these shellfish, like, how are you going to eat them? It's like, I'm going to lay back because my belly is a table. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. That's the type of thing, like, it's okay. I think that there's probably a lot of people who, in like mainstream rap, who probably can't stand this guy.
I'm sure.
Because they think everything's got to be serious. It's like back in 1992, a Pearl Jam fan versus a Poison fan. Like, I was like, yeah, I understand what's going on with Jeremy, but I also would like to have nothing but a good time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think there's a place for all of it.
You need both. Life is all about balance.
And I think that the fact that somebody can take something like that, that topic was probably, if I were to guess, probably sitting around watching YouTube and seeing.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is. He was Aesop Rock was quoted as saying that he gets a lot of his vocabulary. He loves reading like science journals and watching documentaries, and he writes anytime he hears a word that he has never heard before, he writes it down and like tries to like use it later on. So like so much of this stuff is like related to animals because he's just like, I like science.
Yeah, which totally makes sense. The last one that you have is a single from 2021. Another great cut.
I said at the beginning, I thought Kirby was my favorite. I think this one is my favorite.
See, I would argue that that's a sign of a great artist when you go, like, for example, and I don't mean this to be rap just because we're talking about rap in this, but you've heard me say this a lot. Whenever I say, Eminem's second album is his best album by far, I always go, well, No, well, whichever one I'm listening to, either his second or his third. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, this is a sign of good material. If
Yeah.
you're like, no, wait, this is my favorite.
Yes. And I'll tell you, so this track it's a single from 2021 called Long Legged Larry. And if you are here on YouTube, which you are, you're watching this on YouTube right now. After
You're
this.
there. Do I know you? No, but that's where you are. You're there.
After this, stay on YouTube. Look up the video for Long Legged Larry and just watch it and appreciate it because it's visually so much fun and it adds a whole other layer to this track.
And that's another thing too, is I like a lot of the there's probably a ton of wildly creative people getting work out of being involved with an artist like this. You know what I mean? Like people whose work wouldn't be sought out by, say, a Sony Records or a Universal Group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like an artist like this is like, okay, well, my stuff's already out there, so we're going way out there with the visuals.
Why not? And by the way, this song's about a frog who, uses his long legs to, get stuff done.
Yeah, which is, his business. So we are overjoyed to have heard about this artist. And again, if you're a longtime fan, the whole time you've been like, I can't believe these two idiots have never heard of him. Sorry. We know about a ton of other music, though, and that's all on the channel. So,
and we know about Aesop Rock now.
Yeah, now we do.
Now we do.
But one thing that we always do, if you're new to the channel, is we always say, like, hey, the comment section matters the most. So, especially with something like this, because we're both, like, barely getting involved in Aesop Rock now. And we love what we've heard. And yes, we could just go to streaming, but like I'd rather hear from you if you're a longtime fan. And you go, oh, okay, those are great songs, but you should also hear this. Leave that in the comments for us by all means, please. Or if you have an artist you'd like us to check out, if you go, oh, if you like him, you're going to love this. Leave that in the comments. That would help us out a lot as well. If you would hit the notification bell on your way out and the like button, those help us grow the channel. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.